so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Art Burns. Art is a mindfulness coach working with people in all walks of life to integrate mindfulness practices into all aspects of their lives, not just on the meditation cushion. Art considers mindfulness is the one thing that helped save his life from the reactivity and obsessive thoughts that made him unhappy for the first 40 years of his life, and he has answered the call to help others integrate this life and sanity-saving practice into their own lives. Hi, Art. Welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. You were actually recommended by another lovely, beautiful P-head, Michael, who was just telling me I don't even know. He was just ranting and raving about you and your all the things you're working on. So I'm so excited to connect with you. Michael's amazing, and I'm sure you are as well. And this is exciting for me. So.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, Michael's a great guy, and I owe him a great debt. And we work together with a mindfulness program, and he's a really, really awesome dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to hear about all this mindfulness. But before we get into that, why don't you give us a bit of your background, of your story, of what your journey has been like, and how have you gotten here to this conversation?
Yeah, sure. They're great.
Cool.
So yeah, I grew up in a very sort of emotional desert as a young man, and through my life that caused several issues, of course, but mostly the result of that was that I had a very sort of aimless life. In my bio, I talk about the first 40 years, and that's really a literal thing that I kind of went from school to career to another career, and just kind of aimlessly wandering through life, not really knowing what it was I wanted. And it was only, when my daughter was born and things started coming into a different sort of perspective that I realized that I was just kind of fast forwarding through my whole life, just sort of like racing through, trying to reach some goals that I had that never really materialized, and it just wound up resulting in a lot of unhappiness. And when I came to realize that, that's when everything changed. Things got really exciting. And so over the last 10 years, I've been on a journey of self-discovery, really, and it's been really very, very fun. A lot of ups and downs, of course, but it's been a wild ride to understand that this development of awareness, and that's both internal awareness and awareness of the whole world around me, and that awareness that when we develop it, it allows this compassion to come forth, both compassion for the world and compassion for myself, that I never knew I was capable of. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. And that's how I wound up talking to you today.
Awesome. I love it. Wow. So 40 years, and are you saying that it's, the shift started happening when you had kids?
Yeah. That's when just sort of that's as far back as I can trace any kind of big changes. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it until maybe a few years later, but I feel like that's when things started to shift, and it was mostly a perspective change,
And what about having kids? I'm just curious, because is it starting to be more in the moment, or do you not even really know what it was?
Well, I think from what I can understand about everything that I've discovered so far is that, the sense of a higher purpose in one's life is a really, really important thing. And I think that's one of the things that I was living without for a long time. And obviously kids are a higher purpose that's instantaneously delivered to you. And it's, and it becomes something that just sort of, puts everything else in a little bit different perspective, I guess. And it allowed me sort of to give me this sort of spark to sort of ignite this fire of self-discovery, if you will.
Love that.
Yeah.
So how did you end up finding Positive Head?
My wife actually turned me onto it. She and a couple of her friends. Yeah. She's been a big fan of yours for a while. She's always raving about it. And, I don't have a lot of time for media because I keep myself very busy and do a lot of reading and learning, and unfortunately I'm not I don't know if it's an age thing, but I'm not zeroed in on the podcast as much as I should be. But she did get me to listen to P-Heads, and it really made a believer of me, of the podcast medium. I look forward to it, and I enjoy it immensely. And the guests that y'all have, it's amazing. And I'm honored to be among them here.
Yeah, it's great. It's an amazing mix of energy. It truly is. And like you said, the listeners have so much going on as well. And that's amazing. Well, shout out to your wife for turning you on to this. What's her name?
Absolutely. Anique Burns.
Anique?
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that pretty?
So pretty. Where is that from? What is that?
French Canadian.
Oh, beautiful and
neat. Yeah, beautiful Montreal.
I'm very interested in names and name meanings, because I'm a firm believer that we embody our names, we choose our names. And so what does art mean? Do you know?
What does it mean? It's
I'm gonna look it up,
to be honest with you. Arthur, I do know that it comes from Welsh, and it's the King Arthur thing is associated. So I think it has to do with a sort of royal, something of that nature. Yeah.
I just looked it up. It says, it's an ancient word. No, it's awesome. It's an ancient word for a bear, the bear, the animal, but it also is used in the sense of outstanding warrior or champion. Hello.
I like that.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. No problem. I could do this anytime I meet someone. I'm like, what does your name mean? What did you choose? What did you choose to intend before you came here? I just think it's so interesting. So, okay.
Love that.
So, awesome. Well, what are you working on now? You said so you had this 40 years of just aimlessness, which I feel I can relate to. I have had some definite time of aimlessness. And so, but then this transition happened. And so what are you working on now? What is this new phase all about?
Well, my philosophy is sort of to reach out to the people who I used to be, right? That's just sort of my natural instinct on this, and so for me, what that means is a lot of people in our society now, they know that they want to change something, they know that there's something that they're missing out on, and there's just this sort of visceral understanding that there's something there, but there's such a conflict with most people's, lifestyles and schedules and obligations that they have set up for themselves that they don't feel that they have the time or the energy to devote to this, self-help and self-discovery. And so what I do is I try to sort of be the mesh that can transition from their lives now to the life that they really think that they want to, that they know that there's something out there, right? Which is, again, this sort of peace and calm your mind on demand kind of thing that is out there for anybody. And it really doesn't require a whole lot of effort, at least up front, to get an understanding of what it is. And so my philosophy is that I try to minimize the idea that you have to sit in formal meditation for hours and hours and hours. We do formal meditation. Obviously, it's important, but equally as important is to, simply develop awareness and to develop presence with everything that you're doing throughout your day, right? So when you're doing dishes, do dishes mindfully and with presence, right? Don't think about your to-do list, that you have for tomorrow while you're washing the dishes. Think about the feeling of the water on your skin and the sounds that you hear in the sink in front of you and, that sort of thing. So that's how I sort of like reach my hand out to people who maybe feel like it's just too overwhelming to step into this, this world that they know is out there. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I've had like some moments like that this week where I've had this almost this like sudden awareness of that I'm like in a body and I'm like, wait a minute, like it's almost like this. Well, it's an awareness that I'm suddenly like in a body and that I'm like energy in a body. But these moments of awareness have forced me to kind of suddenly be very present. And like you said, even in the most mundane things, like it's funny you say washing dishes, because washing dishes is one of those things that, it's like a chore, right? It's like we think of it as a chore, and it's really, let's get this done. Like all the things that we're like, let's just get this done. Even like I walk a lot of dogs because I live in this building where it's a long story, but I walk a lot of dogs. And, it's like I see so many people outside walking their dogs and their head is just buried in their phone, and they're walking the dog, but like their head is literally like they're not there. They're not there at all. And I look at them and I realize like, wow, I used to be like that. Like I just was not present with walking my dog. And I get that like we think it's just something we have to do so that we kind of want to, it's almost like distract ourselves from the fact that we're doing a quote unquote chore. But it's like, especially with things like that, I've come into that realization as well, especially over the past year of like, hold on, be here, like take this opportunity to be here, even especially in these moments, because these moments are just as important as any moment. There is not, what is it? It's like there is no other moment besides now. I mean, it's all a series of nows, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Completely agree with you.
Yeah. And so what is one thing that you think would benefit every P-head to know or understand as they continue on their own journey? Obviously, the importance of being present, but is there anything that's like really, really helped you that you wish that everyone would really understand, even beyond that?
I think, the next biggest thing for me is loving kindness and compassion, and the feeling that, there's the Buddhist psychology that says that, there's the three poisons, right, which are the negative mental states from which all negative emotions arise, right? And so that's greed, aversion, and delusion. And if you're living in the opposite of those, you physically, even on a physiological level, you can't be in the negative and also the positive. So to expand your sense of kindness to the world and to like everybody, even people that you're not really a big fan of, does enormous things to keep you on that positive side of your mental state, which then just is a fountain of positive emotions and holds away any of the things that get people down and start getting people into this, sort of competitive spirit and that kind of thing. So I think that's one of the things. And that's one of the things that I found working with people is one of the greatest achievements or just the biggest difference maker for people. Because, if you can look at somebody and you can train yourself, and again, it's very easy. It just takes time and a little bit of practice, but you can train yourself to literally be the default position of you is to look at somebody and wish them well, right? And I think that's an enormously different thing from the way a lot of people operate, and yeah, and again, to me and to the people that I work with, that seems to be one of the biggest difference makers in sort of the foundational way that our minds work.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Wait, what were you? Go back to the you said in the Buddhist tradition or the Buddhist teachings, the three. What did you call them? The three.
It's the three poisons is one
Poisons.
of the. Yeah, that's John Kabat-Zinn was where I first learned about those, which is ironic because he's not a Buddhist teacher. But my background is not in the spiritual Buddhism. So a lot of what I've studied and practice is more of a Western scientifically based thing. But it's amazing how much there's a crossover to the Buddhism, and it just keeps coming back to it. And yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, the three poisons, it's like sort of the I think they also call them the three toxic states. There's, depending on who you're reading, they're referred to in different ways. But yeah, basically it's things like greed, aversion, and delusion are the cause of basically every negative emotion, like all anger, all jealousy, all depression, all anxiety. It all comes from one or more of those three things, kind of sort of capturing your mind. So the practice is to stay on the other side of those, and they are what's known in the science world as reciprocally prohibitive, I believe they call it, which physically means that you can't be greedy and generous at the same time. Right. So you just can't do it. So if you practice being generous, you'll never find yourself greedy, Yeah.
I love
Pretty
that.
Wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I really love that. I really like the way you described it, like greed, aversion, and delusion, and then how each one of those kind of leads into, like you're saying, anger, frustration, depression, etc. That's really interesting. I haven't heard that before. So, well, on that note, so like, what are some of the, I don't know why I'm just feeling inspired to ask you this. What are some of the biggest things that get in the way? Obviously, the three poisons, right? But what are some of the things that impede people from what you teach them, from living in this, generous, happy way? Like, what are some of the things some of the most common pitfalls that we fall into, like things that we could maybe watch out for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, if I was I would say that it's about, again, it all comes down to this awareness, right? So if you can, because a lot of times what happens is when you're in a place of delusion, right, you don't realize you're in that place of delusion, right? And that's the whole point of delusion, is it's you're thinking that something's there that's, you're thinking things are the way they are, but they're not. It's kind of hard to explain that, but the idea is that by developing an awareness, you begin to be able to understand when it is that you're in delusion, right? So if I had to say the big drawback that people have is just the very beginning, before they trust that process, right? The thing is, and it happens so quickly. It's like, all I have to do is like push people for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're like, okay, wait a minute, yeah, something's happening. I get this, yeah, and then it's like, okay, now we're going. Now I got you practicing. Now we're going, and in a few months, people are talking about how their lives have changed. John Kabat-Zinn, again, he's person I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. He operates the mindfulness-based stress reduction clinic. He's been doing it for almost 40 years now, I think. And he says that the most common thing that people say when they come into his clinic and when they complete his clinic is that, "You've given me my life back." And that's really how it feels, because again, we get so wrapped up in these delusions and this sort of aversions and our own grasping and greed, that it becomes this, we become detached from the world and from our own lives, and it's all just sort of this thing that we make up, and it's like, and that's why what I'm doing, what any meditation is really doing, is not necessarily bringing something into somebody, but what we're doing is lifting the things that are blocking you from your natural human compassion and your natural human presence, because, if you look at a little child, take a walk with a 3-year-old, and there's nobody more present in the moment than that. I mean, a kid can sit on the sidewalk and play with a beetle for like 40 minutes,
Yeah.
So it's like our natural way to be is present, and our natural way to be is compassionate. But we kind of convince ourselves that that's somehow not, profitable in our lives or whatever. And that's, and that's the one thing that I have to like sort of convince people of in the very beginning. But again, like after a couple of weeks of practicing and realizing that this is really attainable, it's within their reach, it's like all systems go,
Yeah. I just got this image of like, it's like children know that everything is enough. Like children are so present that they see everything. Like they see so much. And it's like, as we get older, we start to take on the, it's not enough idea. So we start looking for it in places that it isn't. And then we feel more and more like it's not enough. There's never enough. It's not enough. This isn't enough. It's this endless search for enough when enough has been there the whole time. Right.
My gosh, that's such a great point because then what that does is it gets us to focus on what is enough and try to find that thing that is enough. And what that does is reduce our scope of awareness, and it narrows it. And it becomes like a tunnel vision kind of thing. And that's where most people are living,
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That was great.
Yeah, it was. So how can people work? How are you working with people and how can people work with you?
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I do an online thing. I actually have a couple of local clients here in Denver, but most of the people I work with, and I hate to call them clients because they really become loved ones, and it's people that I love to help people. And this is such a powerful thing that really does, like the people tell John Kabat-Zinn, it gives you your life back. So anyway, my loved ones that I work with, a couple of them I work with here in Denver, but most people it's online. It's on a Zoom conference call kind of thing. We do groups or we do individual. I sort of tailor it to what people need and what people are looking for. But yeah, I have people I work with on both coasts and all the way in between.
Awesome. And so is it like a continuous coaching program or mentorship?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm glad you asked that because actually I've just changed that.
Cool.
I was doing a 12-week program, but I've decided to, and only 2 of my clients know this, so some people might hear this for the first time now, but I'm going to expand it to 6 months because I believe that, based on some research that I've been doing and as well as just the feeling of, that I want to give more. That's just sort of my natural instinct is to just give more sort of value to people. But most importantly, it's like I feel that to really instill a new habit in someone and to really like make this foundational change, 6 months is really more of a realistic amount of time. A lot of people feel maybe a little scared about a 6-month commitment, but it's, if, the people that I've been working with and I've been talking to them and they're like, man, if I could get another 3 months out of this, I would sign up in a heartbeat. So, it's like, I think, anyway, it's about just, kind of supporting for the whole, the long haul rather than just a short little introduction. And, because the problem is if you don't keep going with this, it's really easy to slip back to where you used to be, Absolutely.
It's, I'd say 6 months is transformation guaranteed, momentum guaranteed. Like, you're going to absolutely gain that momentum that like then takes on, a life of its own. Like it makes the transformation and what you're looking to expand into so much easier because you're so consistent. Consistency, right? It's so important. Like it really is to make a change. And It's crazy. We just did our me and my podcast co-host on another podcast I host. We just did our first retreat and it was like 3 days long and it was amazing. We packed so much in these 3 days and it was amazing. But then at the end of the 3 days, we were like, oh, wait a minute. We just basically ripped the lid off these these loved ones. And we're like, okay. And like, you know what I
now
mean?
we're supposed to just go home,
Yeah.
right?
And everyone's like, wait, no, we're just getting started. And so,
Right.
you know, like learning about, you know, that process about follow-up support and all of that. So I think 6 months is, you know, sounds amazing. And like, if you're looking to make a real change, that's an ideal time frame and commitment. So that's great. So
Cool.
how can people get in touch with you if they are interested?
Wow, that's great. So I am on the web. You can find me at yourlifereclaimed.com. That's a throwback to John Kabat-Zinn's.
John Kabat-Zinn's.
Yeah, he's a really fantastic person. So yeah, Your Life Reclaimed, or you can find me on Facebook, Art Burns, or you can shoot me an email at artburnssmiles.com. Yeah, I would love to hear from people.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions for you. One is, do you have any fun or inspiring manifestation stories or synchronicity stories or any stories that just feel very inspiring and magical to you that you've experienced that you'd like to share?
Yeah, like every day.
Right. Right.
Seriously. And this, like, you know, I've been feeling very much that I've just, you know, what's happened to me in this whole transition is not only just a journey into mindfulness, but it's also a total alignment with my inner nature, and that was actually proved by shown to me in a reading that I did with Michael Boyle, who's the other P-head member who got us together here. Yeah. So he does astrology readings, and I had actually never done my natal chart reading, not for any reason except just not, you know, like, just synchronicity never happens that it would come together, you know, and so I saw Michael put something out there saying, like, I'm going to do X amount of free readings. If you want, you know, sign up now. And I was like, wow, look at that. Cool. Never met Michael, didn't know him, you know, nothing. Right. And so I signed up. He's like, sure, send me your birthday, time of birth, and where you were born in the world. And that's all they need to start a natal chart. And so that's literally all he knew about me from anything in the world, right? And then so I booked this time with him, and we spent an hour, and he basically just listed, like, point by point, everything that I had gone through, you know, from the time when I was a child and when all this sort of problems were building up, and just described, like, if I was to do my perfect thing with my life, you know, basically described what I was doing. and when I told him, I said, oh, well, you know, it's really great that you're saying all this, because this is what I'm doing. I'm you know, coaching people in mindfulness to develop, you know, because one of the things that I do is I develop an emotional intelligence with people. And that's one of the biggest things, you know, and that's one of the things that, you know, he read in my chart that was missing in my early life. And he, like, when I told him what I was doing, he literally was just shaking his hands, almost falling off his chair on the video screen. like he couldn't tell me a single word other than what I just said. Like, it's just perfect, you know? And that's where it became like, it just, like, dawned on me that, yes, like, this is exactly where I belong right now. And this is what I should be doing. And it's felt that way all along. But, like, to have somebody, like, put it in front of me like a mirror, you know, it's like amazing. Wow. And then like 2 days later, Michael contacts me. He's like, I think I want to work with you. You know, like, you know, like, I guess he saw that I was so aligned, you know? Yeah. That's amazing. So, yeah. It was such a great story.
I love that. I love when, like, two souls come together like that and just kind of, like, elevate each other in certain ways. Right. Isn't it, like, so beautiful when you just, like, you're just drawn really together in that way.
Yeah, it's really magical, and it's really become such a you know, a symbiotic relationship, because, like, we talk outside of our sessions, and, you know, it's like he's become a friend, and just it's.
Yeah, he actually did my natal chart, and it's funny because I don't know, like, I've always loved astrology just because I thought it was fun before I was into any of this stuff for real. I was like, oh, it's my horoscope. Oh, are you back?
I'm back now. Yeah, I lost you just for a second. I heard horoscope.
All good. all good. No, I was just saying, yeah, like I was always into, like I thought astrology was fun when I was younger. Before I was like really into any of this stuff, I just thought it was like fun to check my horoscope and it would be like, oh, that's weird. That's, on point or whatever. But I don't think I actually like really believed it. And even when I, really got into this whole spiritual world, astrology, I still had some resistance to astrology because I think I still had some like of those leftover beliefs from, being like a kid and everyone being like, that's not real and all that. Mm-hmm. And then Michael, who you're talking about, did my natal chart reading and I was equally blown away. And even a couple of days ago, I was like, I had last week, I had the best week ever. It was all these things were happening. I felt so good, so aligned. And then all of a sudden Monday of this week hits and I just feel really weird, like really out of it. So much so that I messaged Michael and was like, what's going on? Like, I don't ever ask him that, but I was like, what's going on? Because I just feel like something big shifted. I don't know. And he's like, well, Mercury's in retrograde. And I was like, well, okay, I know that, but Mercury in retrograde to me just means like all of our devices don't work and like everything goes to hell and all that. He's like, no, that's not actually what it means. And he's like, it means it's a time of like old patterns coming back up for review and old lessons that you think you might have learned coming back into your awareness to see if you actually learned them. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And anyway, this is all to say that like Michael has been teaching me a lot about like the validity of astrology and how really powerful it can be to really work with your astrology and to, to learn about that, to understand that influence in our lives. And so anyway, that was just an aside. Michael just gave you a huge plug, but
yeah, and a well-deserved one. I mean,
absolutely.
I'll just throw a cherry on top. If there's anybody listening, I mean, he is amazing.
An amazing human. And also if you're in the Positive Heads Facebook group, he's the one that's doing Reiki, like free Reiki, just like all the time. And it's beautiful energy. And you've probably seen him in there. So yeah, absolutely well-deserved. And well-deserved for bringing you into this mix and connecting us, because it's just been such a pleasure talking and being in your energy. I love that your emails Artburn smiles because I feel like your energy is just like smiling like through me. I can feel your smile from here. So I love it.
So great.
Is there anything else that you feel inspired to share with everyone before we wrap up?
Sure. One thing is the smile. You just talked about it, and I'd like to let everybody know something. And maybe some people understand this already, but smiling is such a powerful thing for us. When you smile, you activate like there's like 23 different muscles in your head, in your face that have to work to make you smile. And when you're activating those muscles in your face, it's sending a signal back to a part of your brain that is in charge of the whole fight or flight or the opposite of that, right? It's either the sympathetic nervous system or the parasympathetic nervous system. And when you smile, you're sending a signal back to your brain that everything's cool. And that there's no need to like freak out about anything, and no need to be worried, and no need to like be anxious. And so literally just by finding something to smile about and having a genuine smile on your face, you're calming yourself down and you're making yourself more healthy. So,
this is so. That is beautiful, number one. But number two, that is so synchronistic because just like 2 days ago, I got this inspiration to set an alarm on my phone, or it's just a reminder on my phone that goes off every hour that tells me to smile.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
Because of what you just said, because I came into that awareness, I was like, wow, like I've spent so much of my life frowning. I mean, literally I have marks on the tops of like my eyebrows, kind of like in between my eyebrows, where my face has been scrunched together because as a kid, I would always scrunch my face up because I was always like unhappy or anxious or mad about something. And literally like my parents would be like, you're getting marks there. And I have these marks here. But anyway, I was like looking at them thinking, wow, I've spent so long just like frowning and like so long just kind of making this angry face, And realizing like, well, yeah, that really manifested like into a lot of things that way, you know, and remembering exactly what you just explained, because I've heard that before as well. It's like when you smile, your body literally doesn't know the difference. Like it doesn't know when you smile, you can actually feel happy. Like it will generate the feelings of happiness because of everything you just explained. Yeah. So anyway, I just realized, you know what, if I can just remember to keep smiling, if I can remember that is such a simple way to activate happiness in my life. And so that's just such a beautiful synchronicity.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's amazing. That is so amazing.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's contagious too, which is beautiful, you know?
Oh my gosh. It's so contagious. It's crazy how, you know, it's funny, even just doing these interviews, like with the listeners, just like this, what we're doing right now, I can be having a day where I don't talk to anyone all day because I work from home. And like some days I'm out talking to a lot of people and some days I'm just like working at home all day. And I can feel this like somber kind of like subdued, mood. And then I'll do an interview. And it's funny because then I'll go into their interview and I'll feel like I don't even want to do the interview. Like I'll feel that way. Like, oh, I'll just, you know, like, okay, I'll just do this. And then I get into the interview and every single time without fail, every single time I smile and I laugh the whole time. And then I come away from the interview and my whole day changes every single time. So now every time I go into an interview, if I ever feel like that, I'm like, oh, just stop it, because you already know this is going to like light your whole day up, basically.
That is amazing. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I get that same rush out of working with people. Every time I'm done with a session, I could be like exhausted before I sit with a person for an hour. I come out of it, I'm like high, you know, I'm like, my gosh, I feel on top of the world.
And that's how you know you're on the right path, right? Because you're lit up and all your channels are open. Yeah. Anything else?
I mean, I got how much time do we have?
You have some more time. I was just you can throw any not to I don't know, throw any nuggets out you want.
Okay, let me think. So I mean, the smile and the you know, it goes back to that loving kindness thing, right? And so there's a great practice, and I would like, you know, if anybody out there is listening to this, I'd like you to try this. Okay, try for 7 days and then email me. Seriously, I'm really serious about this. You said, Alexis, setting a timer on your phone, right? And so it's really easy to do with this technology we have. So, and this actually comes from the Search Inside Yourself program, which is the mindfulness program that they teach at Google. So you set your alarm for every hour, okay, and for 10 seconds out of that hour, and I know it sounds absurd, but for 10 seconds out of that hour, I want you to stop whatever you're doing. Just stop and look around at people, and every face that you see for those 10 seconds, just inside your head, say, "I wish you well. I wish you happiness." Okay. Everybody out there, I dare you to call me in a week and tell me you don't feel different after doing this for 1 week.
I love that. Yeah.
It's great practice, you know, and this is again, like the kind of stuff that I work with to get people to, you know, to just weave it into their lives as opposed to like, you know, disrupting their lives to somehow do this. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think a lot of people, when we have these awakenings, we think, I need to change everything. I mean, that's kind of what happened to me. I totally abandoned what I was doing. And I mean, it all worked out for the best, obviously. But no, absolutely. Like you're saying, and that goes back to what you said in the beginning about being the mesh, right? What did you say? You were the mesh, like between, you said something so amazing about being the mesh between like, you know, this world and like this new. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah. It was the, you know, between where they are in this sort of hyper reactive world and the thing that they know is out there, right? Because that's the thing. Even when you're stuck in that hyper reactivity and all the delusion and all that stuff they were talking about, you know, you still have this sense that something is wrong. You know, it's like it's you know, and opening up the awareness, you know, it's like it becomes like you're seeing the Matrix, you know, it's like, yes, now I get it. It's like it's so And
something is wrong, right? The something that's wrong is that we think that something's wrong. Like this is that we think there's something to fix, or that there's something we have to achieve, or that there's something that we have to do that we're not doing, or that we think we're doing something wrong. I mean, it truly is. And I think what you're appealing to, and I think this is beautiful because this is really the direction we kind of need to start heading, is that it's much more simple than you think.
Absolutely.
And it really just takes these minimal shifts and consistent minimal shifts, right? In thought process and in behavior and attitudes to really see massive change. But it's like, we think that massive change means massive action. Like we think, or maybe I shouldn't say to see massive change, but we think, well, I want my life to be like this and it's like this. And that seems so far away from each other. So I must have to do all this work in order to get there. And that just seems too hard to me. Or they think, I'm going to do it, but I have to put in all this work. And then they're just like driving, it's so much resistance in the mix. And that's really like the opposite of the direction that we should be going. And it's in those moments, right, that you literally are relaxed and you're not thinking about this stuff. And you really are just kind of in a good mood for the sake of being in a good mood, that suddenly things just work out. And you're like, whoa, that was powerful. So it's just about like, how can we get ourselves into that state more often? And it's so funny to realize that's the hardest thing for us as humans, to just relax, right?
Just let go.
Yeah, just let go. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really, 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 really is. And so it's amazing that there are people like you who are there for, to start guiding people in this way, because we really need it. Like we really do. So, all right. Any last words?
Well, before we go, can I do a little plug?
Please go ahead.
Okay. I don't mean to like be self-promotional here or anything like that.
No, that's kind of what this is for. It's okay.
Okay, cool. But I don't like to get salesy, I guess is my point. But but I wanted to offer something to anybody who's listening here. So first of all, Dear Michael put out a post the other day on the P Heads Facebook group. For the time being, I'm doing my program as a donation based thing. Okay, so you sort of, it's the gift economy. So you pay what you can pay. Bartering is available. All that kind of stuff. I'm trying to live in a post-monetary society here by myself, or anyway. So I've been trying to promote that. So I'm doing it as a donation based, and so for the people who are listening right here, though, I have a special little treat. And what I want to give to you is to again name what it is that you can donate to the program, and you get a 6-month program. And then if you're listening to this and you give the code mindfulph, I'll also give you a coupon that's paid in full to give to anybody that you want in the world. So that person can just get a full program in mindfulness, a 6-month program, without any talk of money of any sort, of any compensation. So that's from me to everybody out there. And I hope some people take me up on it.
Wow, I hope so too. That's a huge generous offer. So I hope people take you up on it as well. And man, I'm so excited to see where this leads. And I hope that you keep in touch with me, because I really just have enjoyed talking to you and really enjoy your energy. And this has been really nice. So thank you, Art.
Alexa, I can't tell you how much I believe that too. I'm really, really, this has been wonderful to talk to you.
Beautiful. Well, as Brandon always says, journey well.
Indeed. You too, my friend.
Bye.
All right. Talk to you soon.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.